I have news coming from Germany. I don't know if you've heard about this. Now, I told you a couple days ago that Germany is now in a recession. In the technical form, they are in a recession, which I warned you that could probably be a possibility because of the fact that Germany was heavily depending on that gas from Russia. Now, there is more news coming from Germany from their vice chancellor, who is actually warning that there could be an industry shutdown in Germany. Listen to this. I have an article first, and then I want to get to the video clip. Germany warns of industry shutdown if Russian gas stops flowing. Oh boy. Here we go. This just gets crazier every day. Germany may be forced to wind down or even switch off industrial capacity if Ukraine's gas transit agreement with Russia is not extended after it expires at the end of next year. This is coming from Economy Minister Robert Habeck. He's also their vice chancellor. Habeck, who is also the vice chancellor, issued the stark warning Monday at an economic conference in Eastern Germany, saying that the policymakers should avoid making the same mistake again of assuming that the economy will be unaffected without precautions to secure energy supplies. Now, this goes back to that Nord Stream pipeline. We all know that story. So obviously, when the Nord Stream pipeline blew up, this caused a problem for countries like Germany and also the UK. I explained to you how they had difficulty paying for like heating bills in the UK during the winter, right? So I explained about that. And I told you that Germany was dealing with this energy crisis as well because they were depending on that gas from Russia. He goes on to say, rules of sharing the burden of potential gas shortages in Eastern Europe would have to be respected, meaning that Germany would have to export gas there to offset the deficit, and manufacturers in Europe's biggest economy could have their supply restricted or cut. There is no secure scenario for how bad things will turn out. This is coming from Habeck. Additional capacity, including a planned LNG terminal on Germany's north coast, that has provoked opposition from locals and environmental groups, will therefore be essential to maintain supply to both Eastern Germany and Eastern Europe, he said. And here's that part of that message in German. He goes on to say, despite the full-scale invasion of the country by Kremlin forces in February last year, Ukraine is still earning transit fees by allowing Russian gas to flow through its territory to countries like Austria, Slovakia, Italy, and Hungary. Even if some supply continues beyond 2024, it is unlikely that the current transit agreement will be extended under similar conditions, given the lack of political support. And that's according to the Center on Global Energy Policy, and that was published last week. Direct negotiations between Ukraine and Russia on the extension of the transit contract look highly implausible in the current environment. That's according to Anne and Tatiana, who are authors. Listen to this. Germany may be forced to wind down or even switch off industrial capacity if Ukraine's gas transit agreement with Russia isn't extended after it expires at the end of next year. Habeck, who is also the vice chancellor, issued a stark warning on Monday at an economic conference in Eastern Germany, saying that policymakers should avoid making the same mistake again of assuming that the economy will be unaffected without precautions to secure energy supplies. Now, look at how bad this has become. I don't know about you guys, but based on what I've seen so far, seems like to me The countries that are suffering the most from the sanctions that were put on Russia, etc., doesn't seem like it's Russia. Look at what has happened in Germany. Germany is one of those countries where I consider them to have a strong economy. Look at what's happening to the UK. All of these other countries that had nothing to do with this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, they're basically thrown into turmoil and they had nothing to do with it. You see, sometimes when you have actions towards one party, sometimes instead of that party suffering the most, it could be their neighbors that suffer the most. The ones who were not involved. Now, I don't know what to tell you, except for this should be a huge sign of what is to come. Germany just entered a recession. Now the vice chancellor is warning people that they may have to shut down industry in Germany. Do you know what happened to the people if they shut down industry? And more importantly, with everything that's going on, why aren't people protesting right now in Germany? Why aren't they? Where are the people? Where are the people? The way that people rose up in France over a pension reform. Why are people in the streets in Germany by the thousands right now? And there's more. Now, and this actually was reported today, Germany will export gas to Eastern Europe. Like, people are seriously in dire straits here. Listen to this.
Now, the West has been accusing Russia of blackmailing Europe over gas supplies ever since the Ukraine war started. And now Germany has said that it may have to shut down industrial capacity if Ukraine's gas transit agreement with Russia is not extended. The deal is expected to end by 2024, that is next year. German Economy Minister Robert Habeck says that lawmakers should avoid making the same mistake of assuming that the economy will be unaffected without any precautions to safeguard energy supplies. He also said that Germany will have to export gas to Eastern Europe in order to reduce the burden of potential gas shortages, while warning if certain steps are not taken, then manufacturers in Germany may face restriction or cut in their supply.
I'm just going to pause here for just a second. Okay, it is June, but listen to me. Winter is coming. Not to quote like Game of Thrones, but winter will be here before you know it. What is going to happen if this situation with the gas is not resolved by this winter? What's going to happen to Germany, to people there? And we already know what happened with the UK.
Even after Russia's bloody invasion of Ukraine, Kiev is still earning transit fees by allowing Russian gas to flow through its territory. The gas moves to countries like Austria, Slovakia, Italy, and Hungary. Now, according to a report by Center on Global Energy Policy, it is unlikely that the current transit agreement will be extended. And even if it's extended, the implementation of current conditions is difficult, mostly because of lack of political support.
This is a mess. So Germany seeks new gas transit deal. You know what I think? As many times as we've discussed a general strike, you know when I think a general strike in this country would happen? I think our best chance of seeing a general strike in the US, it's not just going to be people who are, frustrated and have hit rock bottom and just can't take it anymore in the US. I think our best chance of actually having a general strike in this country is when the entire international realm is also affected. It will be some type of international solidarity. This is just what I foresee. I foresee it won't just be Americans upset about inflation. I think it will be, Germans upset, French upset, the UK upset, people upset also in Eastern Europe. I think it'll be people upset in South America. I think it'll be people upset in Asia. I don't think it's just going to be the frustrations of the American people. I think that when it gets to a point in this world where all these countries have had enough and the people are suffering and struggling and they can't take it anymore, I think that is the time when you are going to see not just an American uprising of a general strike, but a global uprising of a general strike. That is the international working class solidarity that we've talked about before. I think that is what it is going to take. I don't think it'll just be us on our own. And when we talk about building an international workers movement, this is what we mean. Shama Sawant knows this very well when she talks about, like, even with Workers Strike Back, they know this very well, that you have to have that connection with the workers abroad, the workers in the global south, the workers in Asia. You have to have that international working class solidarity. And I think only then, that is when I think the American people will say, that's it. We're going to do a general strike. We've had enough. And it may not even be us to start it. It may start somewhere else first. And I think mainstream media is going to try to do their best to bury it. I think they'll try to do their best not to cover those stories, just like they tried to with France, but it got to the point where they had to because it went on for so long. Because they're not going to want us to get any ideas. If a general strike started and spread all throughout Europe, mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they are not going to want us to get ideas. So I think they would try to bury it as much as they can. But eventually, I think it will get to the point where they won't have a choice. They'll have to cover it because of how long it will last. So this is something that you need to think about when we talk about like a general strike, when we talk about everybody saying, just, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore. The pressure has to come from somewhere. And I think it is through economic despair that is going to come. But I think it is going to be a global economic despair. Something to think about. I'll take that comment on Rockfin, Eric. Thank you so much for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Anyone with a Hulu account here? I peeped this in the 2013 series, The Men Who Built America from the History Channel. They talked about the robber barons and their interpersonal relationship with Andrew Carnegie, Steel, Rockefeller, Standard Oil, Cornelius Vanderbilt Railroad, Edison, Tesla, and John Pierpont Morgan, JP Morgan, from the House of Morgan. They show how he bailed out the government and seized control of stock. The federal government may be unwilling to enforce antitrust, but the state attorney generals have more power than the U.S. attorney generals. They can start revoking corporate charters using the 2015 Model Corporate Charter Revocation Act. Get this into the lexicon of your language, people. Know it like you know the back of your hand and pressure attorney generals to start doing this. Well said. And thank you for this tip, Snork. Many of our traffic stops, grocery stores, and U.S. factories use materials made in German factories like Siemens. A German shutdown could shut down the U.S. because we quit making these supplies here. Even most of our wind turbines may have to be shut down. Hope everyone heard that. Thank you so much for that, Snork.